Hello guys, Luke here and welcome to the GTX upgrade. The main purpose of this video is to give both my systems a new graphics card upgrade. Basically my main system back here will be getting a GTX 1080 Ti installed, and then the 980 Ti that you see in the black and red box here will be going from my main system into my spare system, which will make it a very powerful portable gaming machine. So without further ado guys, let's have a closer look at the graphics cards themselves. Okay guys, here are the two graphics cards from NVIDIA that are going into the two systems. Let's have a look at the newest card right here, the Zotac GTX 1080 Ti AMP Edition. It is not the highest spec Zotac 1080 Ti that you can buy. There is an AMP Extreme Edition as well. The first time guys I ever picked up this card, I just realized how heavy this thing is. It is quite a beefy card. It has heat sinks and heat pipes out the wazoo. I don't know off the top of my head exactly how many there are, but basically this cooler has two 100mm fans. It has RGB lighting up the top. The Zotac logo here, you can actually change with software the color. So my system is a black and blue themed system, so I have the LED blue, just like my old card here, which is the GTX Extreme 6GB card from Gigabyte. The WindForce logo actually lights up blue. And something I found weird guys actually, even though this card has a WindForce logo on it, the box itself actually never says WindForce anywhere on it. So I found that a bit strange that they'd have a WindForce LED logo on top of the card when the card isn't even branded as a WindForce card. But anyway, I digress. This card has three 80mm fans to cool the massive heat sinks and heat pipes. This card actually seems a bit beefier than my card that I'm upgrading to, weirdly enough. But anyway guys, now that I've showed you the cards themselves that we'll be putting into our systems, let me show you the actual systems themselves. Okay guys, here is my main desktop system. First of all, the case. We have a Thermaltake Versa U21 window case. The window is just plexi, it's not anything special like tempered glass or anything. Now before I get to the rest of the parts guys, I just want to show you something. The side panel here, we actually have a bit of an issue. My CPU cooler in here, which is the Cooler Master Sadon 120mm liquid cooler, it actually, the bracket around the cooler actually impedes my case from closing properly. You can see here there's a gap in the door. I can't actually close my PC case fully, so that's something else we'll be doing in this video. Let me take off the side panel and show you guys. So I know it's a bit dark, but you can see here at the side of the case, the cooler actually impedes the side panel. I think it's these bits here that stick out where the bolts go in. I've actually had to take a bolt out of this corner because the bolt itself was really preventing the door from going on whatsoever. So I had to remove one screw there. It's actually only held in by 3 screws, but today I'm hoping to rectify that problem by moving the cooler to the front of the case. It may not be possible because it's a bit of a stretch with this cable length here for the actual liquid. I don't know if it can reach the front. I'm hoping it can. If not, I'll have to put it to the roof and have it sucking in air instead of expelling air from the back. Let me continue with the parts list of this PC. We have here under the Cooler Master Sadon cooler, we have a Intel 6700K, and I have that overclocked to 4.4 GHz on all cores. Here we have the RAM. I only have 2 sticks of RAM. They have blue LEDs on them. This is a JL kit of 32GB DDR4 RAM running at 2400 MHz. So JL is, or Gale, I don't know how you say it, but they are a lesser known brand, of course, of RAM. Gale was it was a very cheap kit, and I've been using it now for a couple of years, and it hasn't proved me wrong yet, the RAM kit. So very happy with that. We have here just under our CPU, we have our only drive in this system. We have an Intel 600p 1TB NVMe PCIe drive. That is my only drive in this system. I used to have a WD Black 1TB drive in here as well, but actually with all the parts in here, I was actually reaching the wattage limit of my power supply, which under this cover here is a Corsair 750 watt power supply. Then we have the motherboard itself, which is a Gigabyte Z170 board. Then at the front here, we have our two 120mm fans, if you can see there. It's a little dark, I know. It's a very dark PC actually. I probably should have turned it on while doing this part of the video, but yeah, the only other part to go now is the graphics card, of course, which is actually going to go here, which is of course the Zotac 1080 Ti AMP Edition. So now guys that we've looked at my main system here, we're going to go take a look at the mini-ITX Ryzen build. And here is my mini-ITX Ryzen build that I use for as a spare recording PC and also a travel PC. You can see how small the footprint of this PC is. It's basically the size of a console, probably a little bit taller than an original Xbox One. The card to the left here is a GTX 1050 Ti from Zotac. It's an OC edition. This is the current card that's inside this system, and it's a great card for this system because the GTX 1050 Ti only requires 75 watt of power, which means it can be provided that whole 75 watt from the motherboard itself. It doesn't actually need any PCIe connectors. It makes cable management in this PC a dream, basically, because there's no cables going to the graphics card itself. But yeah, the other specs of this system is the CPU is a Ryzen R3 1200, so the cheapest, most affordable Ryzen CPU you can get. It's a 4-core, 4-thread CPU that runs at 3.1 GHz base and 3.4 GHz boost, but I actually have this overclocked to 3.7. Also a Kingston HyperX DDR4 kit of 8GB RAM. It's two 4GB sticks. 2400 MHz speed. As I said before, we have the 1050 Ti installed in here as well, which will get replaced by the 980 Ti. And that's the next part of this video, guys. We actually want to put the 980 Ti inside this tiny system. But yeah, overall, as I said, very, very happy with this system. Oh yeah, the other part that I forgot to mention, guys, is the power supply. Now, this PC has only a 300 watt SFX power supply from Silverstone. Now, obviously, when we put this beast of a card here, 980 Ti, in this system, which requires 250 watt on its own, mind you, and we only have a 300 watt power supply, it means we're going to have to upgrade our power supply as well. So I've got a Corsair SF 450 watt power supply that's going in here as well, and hopefully this will provide enough power for the system to run all the components in it with a 980 Ti installed. Okay guys, first of all, we are going to start with the mini-ITX Ryzen build here. We are going to do the graphics card upgrade, as I said before, and also the power supply needs an upgrade from 300 watt to 450 watt. I'm hoping this will be enough power. This allows our graphics card to get the full 250 watt that it requires, leaving about 150 watt left over for the CPU, hard drives, and other things. So without further ado, guys, let's start taking this PC apart. Okay guys, as you can see here, we have our Zotac 1050 Ti card in the system already. As you can see there, a tiny little card. You can see how much room we actually have here for the GPU to be installed. This is why there'll be no problem installing my 980 Ti in here. It looks like it won't fit, but it actually will fit. It'll just fit in this area here. I'm hoping thermals will be okay in the system because it is a bit claustrophobic in here. Now, if we turn this system over the other way, you can see how we have the motherboard here, power supply, and everything else in the system basically. You can see how the 300 watt power supply that I have installed already doesn't have the prettiest of cables. It has ketchup and mustard type cables here going to every component. Of course, with our new power supply back here, our Corsair SF 450 watt power supply, we're going to get a fully modular power supply into here with more wattage. So we're going to tidy up the cables a lot in here by using that power supply. We won't need as many cables, and they'll also be all black cables as well. So very excited to install it in here. The first thing we're going to do, guys, is actually replace the graphics card. So let's go ahead and start with that. Okay guys, as you can see here, we have installed the 980 Ti. Of course, we haven't done the power connectors yet because we need to install the power supply first before we can route power cables to the card itself. But as you can see here, it does fit in this case. It's amazing that it actually fits in this mini-ITX case. And it even has a small bit of room here left. It still has about 2 inches of room. So you can actually go with an even longer card than this, and you'll have no problem with clearance in this little bay here. One thing I have noticed, guys, it does shake a little bit. Of course, we have a lot of heavy metal on the back of this card, and there's nothing to really support it there. But of course, when the system's in use, it'll be mainly sitting quite still anyway. It won't be moving around, but I'm just worried in transit for this system. Like you can see here how it moves there. I'm gonna see if I can get a zip tie to tie it to the case itself so it doesn't move. I think this will solve our issue here, and then it won't move around when being transported between houses for LAN parties or whatnot. But yeah, anyway, so the card is installed here. You can see how, yeah, it fits fine. It fits very flush actually. The next step, guys, of course, is, I'm gonna turn it over. We're going to be replacing this power supply. Again, only 300 watt power supply. This case is a little hard to work in, so this is going to be a bit of a longer step, of course. It won't be too bad uninstalling the power supply, but installing the new one will be a fair bit of work because I'm going to have to route cables to the components as cleanly as I can, which takes some time. So bear with me. Here's another time lapse. Okay guys, I have finished installing the 980 Ti and the new power supply, the 450 watt from Corsair. And you can see here, I've got it plugged into a monitor, keyboard and mouse. We're going to test this system before we put the side panels back on, of course, because they are a bit of a pain to put on and take off later. So yeah, I just want to test it before we do that. Let's go ahead and turn this baby on. I've got our front panel here down at the moment, and here's our power button. Here we go. We are up and running. I can barely hear a noise. I think the graphics card's making a slight noise. Here we go, our system's running here. Seems to be quite fine. So now that our mini-ITX Ryzen system is working functionally with our 980 Ti installed, of course we are now going to move over to the main system, the main event, if you will. We're going to install the 1080 Ti into that system, and we're going to move the CPU cooler radiator area to the top of the case if we can, or if not, the front of the case. As I was putting the side panels on the PC back on, I ran into a little problem. I'm just running benchmarks right now. It's working fine. The graphics card works beautifully. As it did in my main system, it now works great in the mini-ITX system. Only problem is it's a very thick card, and if I take you to this angle here, you can see a small problem that I have. The fans actually protrude out of the side of the case. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but yeah, unfortunately the blades stick out from the graphics card slightly, and when I try and put a side panel on, it catches. The fan blades actually hit the side, so yeah, unfortunately I don't know what I'm going to do about this. I've already thought of maybe cutting a hole in the side panel so that the card can, the fans can stick out. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do about that. Well, while I work out what to do with the mini-ITX system with the 980 Ti not being able to have its fan spin with the side panel on, we are moving on to our main event here, the main system. Before we install the 1080 Ti though, I have to move the radiator and fan either to the ceiling or to the front of the case. I'd prefer not to put the radiator on top, as I get a fair bit of dust falling on top of the case, and so this would just suck the dust through into the system. So I'm going to try and put it to the front, but as I said before guys, I don't know if these tubes are going to reach the front. It may not. Anyway, we'll find that out while we're moving it. But anyway, here we go guys, another time lapse. Alright guys, my main PC here has had its upgrade successfully completed. No trouble really, just had to move around the radiator and the fans a little bit. I managed to move the radiator and fan to the front of the case, so now that's able to pull in air, and then I've got just a normal fan on the back that's exhausting. So yeah, now the 1080 Ti is installed as well, and as you can see guys, the side panel actually goes on properly for the first time ever since buying this case. I did a video last year of me moving my internals from one case to another, to this case, the Thermaltake Versa U21. And unfortunately, yeah, since then I had my radiator on the back of this case exhausting air, and the side panel just didn't fit next to it for some reason. It's a bit of a design flaw. Bear with me guys as I switch back to the mini-ITX Ryzen build. Alright guys, here is my mini-ITX Ryzen build right here, and you can see from the state of the case here that we've made a few modifications to allow the GTX 980 Ti to fit in this case. Unfortunately, on a Gigabyte Extreme 980 Ti, the fans stick out, the fan blades stick out slightly from the actual card itself, and so it was catching on the side of the case. But now we have made this modification. So it's just a pity that it didn't end up looking as good as I liked. That pretty much concludes the GTX upgrade video. Now, not everything went to plan as I would have liked, especially with the mini-ITX Ryzen system. We had to make modifications to the case, but we got there in the end. I really didn't want to go back to putting a 1050 Ti in that system. It really is exciting to have a beastly card like a 980 Ti in that system now. And yeah, with our main system getting a 1080 Ti now, it's just a beast as well. But anyway guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. It actually took me a lot of effort to film and edit. It took me a whole day as well. Today that I'm filming this now, right now it is 5 minutes to 11 PM at night. I've been filming since 10 AM, so pretty much more than 12 hours today. Well, a couple of hours in between to go and get the side panel of the mini-ITX Ryzen here cut a square in, but other than that I've been filming and editing all day. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video anyway. I hope you appreciate it, but if you did, leave a like down below, subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you guys around the channel. All right, have a good one.